YouTube. So today I'm going to be reviewing the book Mad Women by Kat Savage. The author contacted me and asked that I review her book on Amazon, Goodreads, and any social media platform I use, in this case YouTube, to review her manuscript. She would send me a digital copy of her manuscript in exchange for an honest review. And she's gonna get it. I really started this whole process not knowing what to expect. I was kind of excited because I've never done anything like this before, and I really didn't know what her book was about. I didn't look up anything she might have done before. I was just like, I'm getting a book. I'm getting the manuscript and I'm gonna read it and it's gonna be great. So I did that and I walked into it with an open mind. Again, not really sure what to expect. There was no cover, it was just the inside title page, and then there was her prologue. And the prologue I thought was kind of quirky and cute. It explained the title of the book. And then I got to the first, I guess this one is kind of like a story, it's not exactly a poem. And I was really kind of captivated by it. I thought it was cute for about the first 2 paragraphs, and by the 3rd paragraph, my interest started to dwindle a lot. That first write-up, I think it took a page, maybe a page and a quarter, if that. And it started out with this really cute story that I was like, oh, this can go so many different ways and it's awesome. And it just took a turn. Not necessarily a turn, but it wasn't written in a way that really connected to me. As I went on, I realized my reading style and what I needed in that exact moment in time to be interested and really connected to the writing just wasn't there. By page 13, I almost called it quits. I was really bored with it, to be honest. I liked the subject matter she was covering, and I liked how deeply personal it was to her, and you could really tell the emotion that she was letting out when she read it, and you picked up on that. All this, that was good, but I was bored. I was very bored by page 13. But I did promise her I would do a review, and I was like, I can't do a review on 13 pages. So I continued on, and I finished reading the book, miraculously. I ended up being happy that I continued reading the book, despite how painful it was for me. I am grateful I did continue with it because I learned more about the author. And not necessarily why she writes the way she does, but more about her. So that's always good. For me, though, as it went on, I was starting to feel like while the words she used were not the same in every piece, I felt like she was just repeating the same thing over and over again. And a lot of what she was saying reminded me of poems or little notes my friends and I would exchange back in middle school. You know, those little, oh, I love him, but he doesn't love me. Oh, I love him, but he broke my heart. Oh, and it was all this kind of stuff. And while I know that emotion is very genuine for the author, you can tell by the way it's written, I was kind of shocked by it because this is a woman who, based on her writing and my calculations, is in her 30s. And based on her author blurb, she's a single mother of 2. And through most of her book, she kind of reminded me of more of a, middle schooler, very needy high schooler. She didn't seem like a grown woman. Oh, I'm so sorry, Kat. I'm so sorry. I feel like a horrible person right now. Oh, but yeah, the book was deeply personal for Kat, and I do give her a shout out for that. I mean, to put some of those stories, especially when you can tell how deeply she feels those. Her sister's death, the death of her nephew, some relationships she's been in, you can really tell her writing comes from a very deep, genuine, and emotional place within her. And writing is a form of therapy for her, along with tattoos, as she pointed out in her book. And I do give her major, major prompts for even thinking about putting that out there for the world. This is her 2nd book. She has one other book. I haven't read it. I'm assuming the other one is very much like this, where it is her emotions, her stories, and that takes a lot of courage. So shout out to Kat Savage. You are so brave for doing that. But yeah, her writing style and my reading style just did not blend well together. They did not mix, which is unfortunate because I really did want to like her book. I wanted to like it so badly, and I didn't at all. It's 60 pages and I had a really hard time getting through those 60 pages. One thing that I think really stood out for me about her book was that it didn't stand out to me. And I'm not saying that like it laid completely flat, because it didn't. I read it earlier today, so I'm obviously recalling, you know, her sister and her nephew and the many, many poems about lost love, sex, just sex, being afraid of love, heartbreak, one-sided love. You know, that's kind of how it went for the most part. Nothing really left a deep impression on me. When I read, I like to be captivated. I'd rather have a book that has moments where it's like, ah, yes, and then, and ah, again. Like my last review for Where I Lost Her. I'd rather a book like that than a book like this where it just didn't captivate me at all. If I hadn't promised to do this review for her, I might have potentially just stopped reading it, and that's not me. I always like to see books through. But I think with this book, the part that stood out for me the most was that it was all. Like, there was nothing that really grabbed me. There wasn't even a phrase within one of the works in this entire book that just like grabbed me by the collar, pulled me in, yelled in my face, and left a mark deep in my soul. That didn't even happen. I didn't even really get much I think I only got maybe one or two superficial marks of like, oh wow. Nothing that's gonna make a lasting impression. Where it did make me feel something, but it was kind of more of that, you know, when you bang your knee on the counter or something and you go ow, but it doesn't actually hurt, you just know you should say ow because it's supposed to hurt, but it doesn't hurt. That's kind of how I felt through a lot of her book. What I consider a good book, good poem, good whatever, is when you take something away from it. It can be something very small, or it can be something very profound, very deep. I have a book from when I was 11. It's one of my favorite books to this day, not because it's a difficult read, but because it left such an important and deep imprint on me. Another book that's left an impression on me, both good and bad, is Harry Potter. When I was younger, I could never get into it. I tried and I tried and I tried, and I just could not get into it. I probably tried reading the first book 3 or 4 times at different points in my childhood, and I just could not get into it. And then when I was 20, I read it and I was totally into it, and now I'm a total Potterhead. It left 2 very distinct imprints, but this book did not leave any kind of an imprint at all. If I can remember much about it by tomorrow, I'll be really surprised. It really did nothing for me. And like I said, I find that really upsetting because it is something so personal to the author that for me to feel like I don't feel anything connection to the book, and I almost always get some kind of a connection to the book, and this book I didn't. It was all kind of, oh, well, there's written words on the page. I feel so horrible because it means so much to her. This review's so hard. I feel like such a bitch. Oh my god. I'm genuinely upset that I didn't like her book more. Very upset I didn't like her book more. I hate being the person who has to be this negative about something. The content was deeply personal and came straight from the heart, and that's an amazing thing. And usually stuff like that I love so much. It's her life, her experiences on this page, and I wanted to take something away from it. I really wanted to be like, oh wow, you know, even just with one of the works in this book. And I truly didn't. It just didn't connect with me, and I feel like such a schmuck. So Kat, I'm really sorry I didn't like your book more. I wish I did. It didn't leave an impression. It didn't give me an aha moment or a wow moment. It just kind of... It wasn't flat, like there's nothing going on. There was lots going on in the writing. It was flat, like there's stuff going on, but I wish it would liven up, because it was so dark and so depressing throughout the whole book, and it seemed like a lot of it was just so repetitive that I don't know. I really don't know. The link for my written review on Goodreads is below in the description box, as is a link to Kat's book on Amazon. While it wasn't a good fit for me, it might be a good fit for you. Who knows? So while it's not one I'm going to go out and recommend to everyone I see, I would still say give it a shot. I don't know who I'd recommend it for. I honestly don't. But you might as well give it a try if you want to try some poetry, short story type stuff. It's a short book. It's very easy to read. Happy reading.